What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. And in today's video we're going to be doing the quick picks for UFC Vegas 99, Pereira versus Hernandez. It's actually not a bad Apex card at all. Pretty solid, you know. Unfortunately I've not been able to upload on my main channel. This video is probably going to get no views because I am uploading it on my second channel. So if you could subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. I got a community guidelines strike. I'm going to wait a few more seconds before I got to get out of the first 30 seconds and then I can swear. I called Rigo a bitch and then and I got a guideline strike for harassment, which is unfortunate. So yeah, I can't upload on my main channel until next week, Wednesday in Australia, so that'll be Tuesday America time. So that's going to be unfortunate, but I'll upload a little bit here. I'll probably use this channel a little bit for other stuff. So drop some videos that you guys want to see on this channel that aren't really like main channel kind of stuff. Just some less serious, some goofy, shorter videos I'll probably maybe do on this channel from time to time. And I'll use it as a backup in case I get another fucking guideline strike. But the card this weekend, let's start off with the prelims, go all the way to the main event. I'll skim through some of these fights because I couldn't care less, and I'm not giving you the outside foot battle breakdown of Elise versus Jessica Penn. But let's start off with the first fight of the night, which is Austin Lane versus Robelas de Spain. I'm going to be going with Robelas de Spain. Now, I know he did look pretty mid in his last fight against Waldo Cortez Acosta, and he got taken. He looked worse than mid, to be honest. He got taken down a bunch in that fight. He looked pretty shit. And he kind of just proved to be a bit of a power merchant. And even that, he kind of looked mid on the feet as well. But I think Austin Lane is just primed to be chinned. He is a victim in the heavyweight division. He's the can that you need to get highlight reel KOs to make us think that Robelas de Spain is going to be a top 15 heavyweight, which is what I thought. Because at the start of the year, before this guy was even before he even debuted, I did a video predicting the rankings this time next year. And this was at the start of the year. And he hadn't even fought yet. He hadn't even been booked. But I just knew of him, and I was like, he's going to get signed to the UFC, and he's probably going to just fast-track him to the top 15. I thought he was good. Clearly not. But Austin Lane sucks. And he just gets KO'd by everyone. Justin Tafa and Janata Denise both slept him bad. So I think he's just primed to get chinned. I think that's what's going to happen here. Robelas will probably look mid. But unless Lane just football tackles him, which is a former NFL player. But I've learnt to just never pick former NFL players because they always suck at fighting. So yeah, I'm going to go with Robelas by round 1 TKO. Let's move on though to the next fight, which is Melissa Martinez versus Elise Aldana. Yeah, I'm going to give you about a 20-second breakdown of this fight. I'm going to pick Melissa Martinez because I think she's just a bit better and a bit more technical and a bit more committed to the game. Just because Elise Alin, if you haven't seen her Instagram, she's caked up beyond belief. She's got a fucking massive ass. And as such, she does OnlyFans, I assume. Or she's got, maybe not OnlyFans, but she does TikTok. Actually, no, she does do OnlyFans. She's one of them ones. She's mid. You might look at her face and be like, why the fuck would anyone pay for the OnlyFans? She's got a massive ass. But apart from that, not much going for her. I think her fighting sucks. She lost to Shauna Bannon, who's not good. And also, I think, is Martinez maybe taking this on short notice? Perhaps, but who cares? Idling shit. Let's move on. I'll go Melissa Martinez by decision. Let's move on to the next fight. Elise versus... This hat is really itchy. I don't know why I'm wearing it. Elise versus Jessica Penn. I am going to be picking Elise because she doesn't look like my grandma. Jessica Penn is 41 years of age, if you didn't know that. She's an old woman. She's a grandma. She's a very ancient lady. She needs to be taken care of and put in a nursing home rather than fighting. Now, Elise honestly kind of looks like a boy. It looks like a young boy. So keep her away from Pat Barry. And she's not very good, but she's got some random decent performances here and there. So does Penn, to be fair. But I'm just not going to pick a 41-year-old woman to win a fist fight. So yeah, that's going to be a pretty simple one. Let's move on though to the final women's MMA fight of the card. They're giving us a 3-fight fucking piss break here. Just an extended shit. Is what this is going to be used for. But Tamir Vidal versus Joselyn Edwards. These look like two fucking members of the same fucking tribe, if you know what I mean. But one of them got all the food, and one of them was left to starve. Honestly, you can't tell me these two don't look the same. But Vidal, I'm going to pick Joselyn Edwards to win. Vidal sucks. She's awful. She got TKO'd in her last fight. In women's MMA, she got finished via a boob punch. Now, I know you might look at her and think lesbian. You wouldn't be surprised if she's getting finished in women's MMA. No, she got finished with a punch to the tit, and she was in pain from that, and was unable to continue. So I'm going to pick Joselyn Edwards, who, despite looking like an alien, is not terrible at fighting. So yeah, that's who I'm going to go with here. But let's move on to men's MMA, because that's what matters. Gene Matsumoto versus Brad Katona. Matsumoto should win. He beat Dan Argueta, who I think is like a more physical version of Brad Katona. Maybe not as good of a striker. Brad Katona is still pretty mid. He's a midget as well. Matsumoto, again, looks like a young boy, so keep him away from Pat Barry. But I think he's solid. He looked real good against Argueta. And I just don't... I think Argueta is more physical and stronger than Brad Katona. So I don't think Brad Katona is going to be able to implement a wrestling game. Which I think he's going to need to if he's going to win this fight. I don't think he's going to outstrike Matsumoto cleanly on the feet. That would surprise me. So I'm going to go with Matsumoto by decision, because it's a Brad Katona fight and all of those are going to go to a decision. But yeah, that's what I'm going to go with for that pick. There's not much to talk about. He debuted. He's pretty young as well. Prospect. Maybe he gets fraud checked here. Maybe it's a bit too soon. Maybe Brad Katona just, crafty vets him to a decision. But I am going to be picking Jean Matsumoto. Let's move on to the next fight. We've got Mateusz Nicolau versus Asu Elmabayev. This fight is surprisingly on the early prelim, or not on the early prelim, but on the prelims. This is a really good fight. This is probably the second or third, probably third best fight on the card, I'd say. But it's on the prelims. Fair enough. Mateusz Nicolau, I remember when he fought Brandon Royval on that Arnold Allen Max Holloway card, and he was on the prelims, and it was really weird. And I wasn't sure why he was on the prelims, to be honest, but he got KO'd. And I think the same thing's going to happen again here. I think Asu Elmabayev, who despite not being a KO guy routinely, he's more of a grind-out decision, Marab/Mario Batista type fighter. He swings bombs. He doesn't have that much power, but he swings power. And look, I think all you need to do is swing power and you can KO Mateusz Nicolau, because he's not very good. And Alex Perez just bum-rushed him and then threw a big combo. And then the last one, he kind of budget Ilya Topuria, Alexander Volkanovski'd him. And then ended up just winning because he KO'd him. And he got fully just flatlined, which is a terrible look at flyweight. So Elmabayev, I think he could just catch him. I think he might shoot some takedowns. Nicolau, people might bring up the takedown defense, which is a statistic, but if you really watch his fights, which I haven't done, no, I remember his Tim Elliott fight though. He did stuff some takedowns, but a lot of them were half-assed. Tim Elliott doesn't really penetrate with his takedowns. He kind of just shoots for contact and just does nothing. And Elliott's not very good, and he also got kind of dropped by Elliott. So Elmabayev, I think, is going to win. I think he's going to swing some big meaty hooks, and I think he's going to get the win. Let's move on, and this is going to jump him to top 7 or top 8 in the rankings, which is pretty crazy. But Elmabayev debuted. He debuted last year, but he's fought 3 times this year, this is going to be his 3rd, I think, or 4th. But yeah, still, his level of opposition's been shit. So don't be surprised if Nicolau is just better, and just isn't a bum, and wins via being good at martial arts, because that's usually what will happen. But sometimes you just have to take into consideration the fact that he's got no chin. Mateusz Nicolau is incredibly chinny, and Elmabayev swings power, so I reckon he can catch him and get a highlight reel KO. Next up, though, on the card, we've got... What the fuck? What is this image? Daniel Pineda versus Darren Elkins. Darren Elkins, that looks like a fucking cursed image. Jesus Christ. I'm going to go with Pineda just for that reason, honestly. I can't pick someone who looks like that in a fight. Fuck it. Oh, this hat is really itchy. But Daniel Pineda. Why am I wearing a hat? Daniel Pineda is going to win, I think. I think he's just a little bit better. And I don't think he's shit. And he's going to close decisions, or maybe not close, but he's kind of getting whooped a bit, and looking decent in moments against Nathaniel Wood and Alex Caceres, compared to Darren Elkins, who's beating TJ Brown. TJ Brown's is not very good, in my opinion. I don't think TJ Brown's someone who I can be like, oh yeah, you beat TJ Brown, I'm totally picking you against Pineda. Pineda, I don't think he's very good, and he's not beaten anyone good, but he's looked half decent and survived and gone to decision against people who are good. So I'm going to back him to win here. And again, certified Unk matchup. Pineda, not very good at all. Neither is Elkins. They're both very old, but I think Elkins is showing the age a bit more, and he just wears damage, and I don't trust that he's not going to just completely show up and die and lose and do shit and have no chin. That would not surprise me. So I'm going to go with Pineda to get the W. Next to fight, though, we got Cameron Smotherman. Why does this guy look like he's got a fucking JDM nose? This guy got KO'd versus Jake Hadley. I'm picking Hadley. This guy got KO'd by Charalampos Gregorio. Now, if you don't know who Charalampos Gregorio is, You're obviously a casual. I just revealed a fucking massive forehead there. Fuck. Cameron Smotherman got KO'd by Charalampos Gregorio. Now, Charalampos Gregorio is a Cypriot fighter in the UFC. He's the only one. And he's the only one for a reason, because clearly Cypriots, they're not very good at fighting. And he got KO'd by him on Contender Series. And since then, Gregorio has gone on, I think, an 0-2 run, I want to say, in the UFC. He's lost to bums, quite frankly, bums. Chadan Holiga, Toshiomi Kazama. Kazama had not won a fight before that point in UFC. And he got KO'd by him. Or finished, I think. Or he got subbed, mate. Was it triangle? Actually, yeah, it was triangle. Because he got beaten up in the first. And he dropped him in the second. And then quit. And got triangled. Because he couldn't finish him. Because he's a bum. So I'm not going to pick Cameron Smotherman. Who's also stepping up on like 4 days notice. To win this fight. Weight cut will probably be tough. I don't know how big he is. But Hadley moved up from flyweight. And then missed weight. So that's kind of based, to be honest. Like, yes, just miss weight. Upper weight class. That's amazing. It's like if Oliveira moves up to lightweight and just misses, or if Michelle Pereira moves up and misses middleweight, like that's just nuts. But Hadley, he's not bad, and he looked good against Callum Loughran. Now, I thought he was going to look totally washed against Callum Loughran, and just be way too small and get out physical. Smotherman, I know nothing about him, but I think he's a bum because I looked at his record and saw that he'd been KO'd by Charalampos Gregorio. So that's just a terrible look, and I'm going to go with Jake Hadley. Next fight, though, Charles Johnson vs. Sumadaji. I'm actually looking forward to this one. This should be a fun fight. I'm going to go with Charles Johnson, because Sumadaji, all of his losses are by submission. And Charles Johnson is a submission guy. Not really, he's not a submission guy. I lied. He's a kind of rangy, anorexic style, does a whole lot of nothing. But he actually KO'd Josh Van, which is a really good win. And I think Josh Van is real solid. So I rate that as a win. I rate that as a performance. And I don't rate as a performance losing to Matt Schnell and losing to Tim Elliott by first round finish. That's an awful look. And losing to everyone else that he's lost to. Now, Sumadaji is not good. And he's been out for a hot minute. And he's been out for a while. And I think that'll show in this fight. When was his last fight the Schnell fight? Oh, no, it was the Elliott fight. His last fight was December of last year. And before that, his previous last fight, I think, was July of the previous year. So he's incredibly inactive. I think he's going to look mid here. He'll probably look washed. He gets cracked a bit. I could see a Charles Johnson TKO. But if I'm going to follow the trend of Sumadaji fights, which is him getting submitted, Charles Johnson by submission. Chuck $5 on it. Not gonna. This is not financial advice, my brother. But if you have to bet, Charles Johnson by submission. That's what I'm going to go with here. I'm going to say he hurts him or like cracks him. Because he's just a bit precise. Like he's a bit kind of like snappy. Pump the jab, like, bah, bah, bah. Like he just pops it out there, rangy, uppercut, bing, bah, bah, and just catch him, crack him. Sumadaji does some dumb shit, because he can't see anyway, for no particular reason, and then he's going to get caught in a guillotine, I reckon. I reckon Charles Johnson seems like the kind of guy who latch up like a high elbow, under the neck, high elbow, and get the gilly, and I reckon Sumadaji is just going to tap, because he taps a lot in fights. That's how he loses every time. And I'm going to back that trend to continue. It's the same with why I'm picking Elmabayev to KO Nicolau. And I'm picking Charles Johnson to submit Sumadaji. Because even though Elmabayev's not a KO guy and Charles Johnson's not a submission guy, both their opponents lose in that way. And all of their losses are by that way. So Charles Johnson by TKO or submission. Maybe decision. Maybe he just looks a bit mid. And Sumadaji actually has a good showing for himself. But I do think Charles Johnson gets it done. Let's move on, though, to the co-main event, Robert Font versus Kyler Phillips. This dude, if you took off, he looks like if you put a beard and a long hair filter on a chick. Like, you can't tell me this dude, if he shaved his beard and got, like, if he shaved his beard, why am I saying long hair? Sorry, just a beard. It looks like you put a beard filter on a chick. If you got rid of this guy's beard, I swear it'd look like a dude. It'd look like a female. But Kyler Phillips, he's not bad. He's pretty fucking good, and I'm going to pick him to win here, because Rob Font, he's Rob Font. He's like 38. You're 40 years of age, mate. That's your fucking age. What are you doing with a school bag on? You can't even read. Rob Font, though, he just looks like he's been in the wars, you know. He looks like he's been in battles and taken damage. Because he has. And apart from a KO over Yanez, who is kind of mid, and I really don't think Yanez is very good, and that's why I picked Rob Font to finish him, because I was just never that impressed by Yanez. But Kyler Phillips is real good. I was impressed by his last fight. Again, he's been out for ages, but if a guy is out for that long and then looks... The main concern is their first fight back. I'm not going to be like, oh, he was out for ages before the Munoz fight, and that was just March, and he's probably off for like another 9 months, 8 months. I'm not going to be too worried by that, because he showed after coming back against Munoz, he looked great, and he schooled him and tuned him up, and made Munoz to look like, yeah, pack it up, big bro, like, pack it up, Unk. You're not welcome in the top 15 anymore, buddy. So I think Kyle Phillips is real good, and I think it's just going to be way too quick for Font, who is a decent boxer, but Kyle Phillips doesn't really get outboxed much. He's very quick. He uses his kicks well. It looked good against Munoz. I just remember that fight because I was very hesitant on picking Phillips, but I was like, he's quicker. He's a bit snappier of a striker. Maybe I'll rate the time off. Munoz is just not very good at doing damage to people. So yeah, that was why I actually picked Phillips, but I was hesitant. But then he looked great and he beat the fuck out of Munoz. So I was like, that was a good performance. So Font, I think he's going to look mid here. I don't think the jab, the Rob Font, just pumping jabs out there. I don't think that's going to work. I think Kyler Phillips is going to be too quick. Just like, and just be way too quick and fucking slapping kicks and shit all over the joint. And I think he's going to get it done and be a bit too quick for good old Rob Font and just tune him up on the feet. Maybe catch him with something, get a finish, but more likely, I'll say Rob Font keeps himself in the fight. Ends up looking a bit like the Aldo fight, I guess, or the Cheeto fight. Except Cheeto was losing, so I think it'll look more like the Aldo fight where he kind of just gets tuned up. And even if Kyler Phillips wrestles, Font shit at defending takedowns. Let's move on, though, to the main event of the evening. Michel Pereira versus Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Let me just adjust my hat for this one, because this is a good fight. This requires the 25-minute Dan Hardy War Room breakdown. I am going to be going with Michel Pereira to win this fight. Now, I think he is just too big and explosive and physical. That's a combination of words that I should not be using in this context. Or I don't know what other context I'll be using them in. Sorry. It sounds like I'd be using them in a different context is what I meant to say. But Michel Pereira, he's too powerful. And I think he's just too strong for Fluffy early. And I think Fluffy needs to get takedowns and kind of wear on you. And Michel Pereira has historically been quite good at defending takedowns. And actually, I know everyone says he's got an awful gas tank and he's just doomed if this fight exits round one, which I don't necessarily disagree with. Because yes, I do think if it exits round one and he looks a bit tired at the end of round one, I think that momentum's only going to build. We know that if it goes 5, it's going to be a Hernandez win. But I think Pereira can actually condition himself quite well. And we've seen it in some of his fights. He's gone... At welterweight, he was going a few decisions, and he was fighting at a solid pace. Middleweight is just smoking fools. He's just got, like, KO after KO after KO, or submission, KO, submission. But realistically, both of those were, like, almost TKOs anyway. Again, not the best level of opposition, but I'm just going to say, Hernandez's win streak, Kopolov was good. But apart from that, Shabazian just lost to GM3. Like, Marc-Andre Barriault. I know he had subbed to Adolfo Vieira, which is a good look, but I just don't think that's even remotely close to the same style of Michel Pereira. Kopylov is like probably the closest in terms of the striking with like some body kicks and stuff, which is why I thought Kopylov might TKO Hernandez with a body kick. But I'm gonna go with Pereira to finish good old Fluffy with a body kick here. I could see Hernandez doing the Batista and it being a bit more boring than usual because Pereira's just strong enough to kind of keep it on the feet, but then he just resorts to holding him. Could see that. Could see it being pretty mid. But I think Pereira's going to do what Pereira does, and I think at middleweight he's just too good, and he's just too dangerous early, and I don't think you can survive that onslaught if you're Hernandez, who's a guy that does get hurt to the body, who does kind of get pressed a little bit, and does need to establish his pressure, and I don't think he's going to get Pereira going backwards. I think Pereira's going to come forward, and it's going to be harder to force a bad shot out of him. Could see him latching up a guillotine. I think a big long shot. This is not financial advice, my brother. But long shot prop of the night. Michel Pereira by submission. After he maybe hurts Hernandez and he shoots in a panic takedown and gets subbed. Could see that. But yeah, that should do it, guys. Yeah, quick picks for you. I'm recording this at 11 p.m. Australia time. Just got back from work. If you look outside, it's very dark, so I have to turn on a light. Look what happens if I turn this off. What? Hang on. Woo, I disappeared. But yeah, it's very late here. But anyway, that'll do it, guys. Like, subscribe, follow my Instagram, Left Lane MMA. Subscribe to this channel, please, because I need to get some views on this. Well, I don't need to get views, but it would be ideal. And otherwise, this gives me a place to upload. So yeah, goodbye, guys. Peace out. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.